For a long time, enterprise architecture was seen as this technical, back office function, but not anymore. Today, it's right at the heart of business strategy. So, we're going to explore how EA is making that journey from the back room straight to the boardroom, becoming a real partner in shaping where a company is headed.
So let me ask you something right off the bat. Is your organization's architecture a true blueprint for the future? Or is it really just a map of where you've already been? That question gets to the core of what we're talking about today. That shift from a passive, here's what we have role, to a really active strategic one. All right, here's the roadmap for this explainer. We'll kick things off with the big dilemma facing architects today, and then we'll dive into two completely different ways of thinking about strategy. After that, we'll see how capabilities can actually bridge that gap. We'll ground it all with a much-needed reality check and then tackle the really tricky part, making it all happen. By the end, you'll see exactly how architecture can stop just following strategy and start actually shaping it. So, if you're an enterprise architect right now, you are probably caught in this constant squeeze. On one side, you've got the market, just screaming for change, for innovation, for speed. And on the other side, you've got the reality of your own company, the systems you have, the skills of your people, the culture. The real trick isn't just balancing these two things, it's figuring out how to use one to master the other. In today's world, with all the digital disruption, looking in just one direction, well, that's a surefire way to get left behind. The best architects out there, they've got one eye absolutely glued to what's happening in the market, and the other is laser-focused on what their own organization can actually deliver. This whole dilemma really brings up a classic tug-of-war in business strategy, one that directly shapes architecture. It's this battle between two fundamentally different worldviews. Let's break them down. Okay, so first you've got the positioning view. This is the classic outside-in way of thinking. Think Michael Porter's 5 forces, right? This view says the market is king. You analyze your competitors, your customers, find a good spot, build a defensive moat around it, and you protect it. But then there's the resource-based view, which is totally inside out. It argues that real strategy begins with what makes your company unique, the stuff that's hard to copy, like your talent, your data, your culture. The goal here isn't to find a position in the market, it's to use your unique strengths to reshape the market itself. This quote just nails the whole idea behind the resource-based view. Lasting, real advantage doesn't come from looking at your competitors and copying what's easy. No way. It comes from building something that is incredibly hard for anyone else to replicate. That's a mindset that every great architect gets, deep down. And Google? I mean, they're the poster child for this. Back in the day, they didn't sit around analyzing the search engine market to find some little niche to squeeze into. Nope, they started with their unique internal resource, that brilliant PageRank algorithm, and they used it to completely blow up the existing market. They didn't try to fit in, they made the world fit them. So you've got these two different views, outside in and inside out. How in the world do you connect them? Well, the answer is a concept that is absolutely central to modern enterprise architecture: capabilities. Now, capabilities are not just the things you have, like your servers or your data. They're about what you can do with those things. Think of them as the verbs of your company. They're the complex processes that weave together your people's skills, your technology, and all that coordination to actually create value. Here's how that works. You start with your unique resources, right? Your tech, your data, your brilliant people. Then you combine them to create a capability, something like, say, the ability to sense what your customers need in real time. And that capability is what delivers value to the market and gives you a genuine competitive edge. And this brings us to a really important mind shift. Enterprise architecture, it's not just about designing systems anymore. When it's done right, when it's truly strategic, EA is the discipline of designing the core capabilities of the entire business. Now, it's really easy to get lost in all this theory, but designing great capabilities means you need a serious dose of reality. And that means being brutally honest about where you really stand compared to everyone else. The old story of Xerox versus Canon is just the perfect lesson here. When Canon jumped into the market with cheaper copiers and started eating Xerox's lunch, Xerox could have just panicked and tried to copy them. But they didn't. Their response was much, much smarter. They went deeper. They launched this huge initiative to benchmark Canon's business capabilities. They literally tore apart their rivals' cost structures, their supply chains, their manufacturing processes, and in doing that, they exposed all these internal myths and blind spots they had about themselves. See, the goal was never to just imitate Canon. It was to do a deep, data-driven analysis to figure out how to build their own capabilities to be truly world-class.
Okay, so having a brilliant architectural design is one thing, but actually making it happen, that's a whole other ballgame. And that's where you run smack into the hard realities of how your organization is structured, how it's governed, and how it handles change.
Let's be real for a second. Here's a hard truth for every architect out there. The most beautiful, elegant design will absolutely fail if the organization's structure fights against it. A super complex company with painfully slow decision-making can kill a brilliant strategy before it even gets off the ground. Your blueprint has to account for the organization itself, because honestly, technology is only half the battle. Architects also have to know what kind of change they're actually driving. You know, incremental change is just about refining what you already have, making things a little bit faster, a little more efficient. But transformational change, that redefines who you are as a company. It requires leadership to completely overhaul the operating model, and the architect needs to be a central guide on what is a much, much harder journey. So let's pull all these threads together. Let's create a single vision for what enterprise architecture really should be in today's crazy world. It's all about creating this perfect blend of outside insight and inside action. I want you to think of enterprise architecture as the essential connective tissue of the modern organization. It's the only discipline that really connects what's happening in the market to your internal capabilities. It connects that high-level strategy to what's happening on the ground. It's what turns a big, lofty vision into something real. And that brings us to the ultimate point. The old way of thinking was that architecture was there to support a strategy that was handed down from on high. But the new model, the truly strategic one, is for architecture to actively shape that strategy from the very beginning, using its unique understanding of what's actually possible. Which brings us right back to where we started, but now with a whole new lens. Take a hard look at your own organization. Is your architecture just a support function sitting around waiting for orders? Or is it at the table, providing those critical insights that are shaping the future of your business? Because that difference, well, it's everything.